All right, continuing with Found Footage Friday. 3 in a row. We're staying strong.
Yeah.
This is the 2016 Triangle movie, not to be confused, obviously, with the Triangle movie that is the loop timeline on the ship. Different Triangle.
Different one.
This one neither of us had ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Totally new.
when we do Found Footage Fridays, I do because a lot of people haven't heard of these. And we are going to do a spoiler review, or discussion. I do want to give spoiler-free thoughts really quick to make people decide whether or not they want to watch this. But I highly recommend this one. Big fan. I really, really liked this a lot. And I will get into why after, obviously, with the spoiler stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what were your thoughts? And then we should throw a synopsis at them.
Okay. I also really, really liked this film, so I would recommend it. I thought it was really cool. It has a very unexpected turn of events that happened that I was already really invested into the movie before that happened, but then that happens and I was like, what the heck? So it was really good. The acting is all super genuine, super authentic.
Yes.
Everything feels very realistic and believable. I really like the dynamic and chemistry between everybody, and I was just like super intrigued the entire time. So,
and also important to note here that this is one of the more ambitious found footage films I've seen, because this definitely had to have somewhat of a budget. It had 40 people in it.
And a lot of people.
And all of them were acting in it throughout. And so what the movie's about is this group of like filmmakers is contacted by postcard from a friend of theirs and is like, we need your help. And they know their friend had run off to join some cult. And they agree that they will come out and make a documentary on this cult. Very similar, obviously, to the Ty West movie, The Sacrament, in that setup. So they go out there and things happen. I mean, I can't really say any more than that in this spoiler-free part of it.
Yeah.
But I was just really impressed by, as you said, the acting from everyone was very, very realistic, very authentic, as good as The Sacrament or any of those kinds of bigger budgeted ones. But it was also very, very believable. Like, these all felt like real people. The characters that they're all playing. There's not a person in the film that doesn't give a good performance for what's asked of them.
Yeah.
So I was like really impressed with that. I was also really into the story, even though I felt like it was going to be tropey, and then it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
then
exactly.
It does this total subversion, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Now I can see some people finding the end to be confusing in a negative way, where they feel it's anticlimactic and that there's no real payoff to it. I can understand that, and that's why I bring it up, but I'm still totally fine with how it ended, and I'm really happy with where it went. A part of this actually started to remind me of something like The Bay.
Yeah, I got that kind of feeling too.
But that's not a spoiler because it's not what you might be thinking from what I was saying. I probably could liken it to another film if I sat and thought about it for a minute, but I won't bother. But it did remind me of something else. It's not coming to me at the moment. But regardless, this is a very cool bunch of people out in the desert, cult vibe, with some subversion of expectations, some very unique and original ideas, albeit maybe lackluster in its conclusion for some who are looking for more of a definitive answer.
Yeah.
So let's get into the spoilers of it. If you want to go watch it, it is available on Vudu for free, but with our TV, I don't know what kind of TVs you guys have. We have an LG. The smart TV apps on our TV screw up everything.
Yeah, they do.
Like our Funimation app for when we watch Demon Slayer, the subtitles are horrendous.
Really bad.
So we always have to take it to a different TV. And with this one, it would with Vudu, and this one, it would not let us get past the first ad.
No.
Like it would get to the first ad and then it would stop and it would crash the app and we try to put it back on. We had to do it like 2 to 3 different times and then finally we had to go somewhere else. So
yeah.
I don't know what kind of shit you have, but Vudu, it's free on Vudu with ads. But just be aware if you have a certain kind of app on a certain kind of TV or whatever, it might crash and you might not be able to get through it, which is really frustrating because I really wanted to just watch it how it was in the moment. It's super annoying. Okay, so starting with the opening. So I like that the sound guy, which at first for like the first like 10 minutes or so, because this is more of like not B-roll but like behind the scenes footage.
Yeah.
Right? I thought that like that was going to be the movie and that he was like in charge. And I was like, you guys hired the worst sound guy of all time because this footage sound is garbage. And if the whole movie sound like stays like this, I'm going to be annoyed. But once they get to the compound, would you call it a compound? The commune, whatever the hell. It's not a compound because it's not like enclosed. When you need to be like surrounded on all sides by like a fence and to be like a compound.
Maybe.
I would think so, but maybe I'm wrong on that. Commune. That makes more sense. That probably needs a fence too. I don't know. But once they get there, all the sound issues clear up until they don't.
Yeah.
Right? Until we get the beep.
Yeah.
For that, I guess I should have mentioned that in the spoiler free area because like that can get really grating.
I thought it was really effective though.
Sure.
Like I know we're jumping
That's
over
the point.
to the end, but like
well,
the ringing...
I wouldn't say the end. That comes
it comes pretty early, but I feel like it's really prevalent in the end. But
sure.
It definitely, like, if you've ever, I mean, if you hear ringing in your ears, of course that's what it sounds like. But like when we were watching it, it reminded me of like when I've passed out in the past and like the ringing in my ears when I like regained consciousness. So it was kind of like dizzying in that way, but it felt intentional, of course. So weirdly, I didn't dislike it. It didn't like make me feel too bad or anything where I was like, I don't want to feel like this. But I could maybe see some people getting very irritated by it if you're like super sensitive to certain like pitches and frequencies.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you suffer from like tinnitus,
yeah,
you're gonna feel some like a PTSD with this. Sure. I mean, I've definitely had a ton of moments of that in my life. It happens to me pretty frequently. Yeah. Where I'm just sitting there and boom. Yeah. Just a bout of tinnitus just breaks in and just in one ear. Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, ugh, it's always my right ear. So it's I'm very familiar with that sound. It's annoying. But anyways, the sound guy that they're bringing along, even though this seems sketchy as shit, all he is concerned with is whether or not there's going to be hot chicks there.
Yeah, that was funny.
This is pretty classic guy. Yeah. Like some people are like thinking about their safety and their survival, and the other guy's like is there gonna be babes there? Yeah. Like if there is, I'm down. Like, if there's not, not interested. Yeah. Like I don't care about my life. Men. Yes. We get. And this was actually where I was pretty optimistic because this was recommended by Dave from Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast. He sent me a big long list of like all his favorite found footage films, and there was only like a few on there I hadn't seen, and this was one of them. So I was like, okay, let's just start knocking out some of the ones he sent me. But where I really started to get hope towards the film, as for its quality and potential quality, was actually the unique decision to make this edited opening credits with a really cool song over it, and just like the way it was edited and the way the music complemented it, it felt not found footage at all, which I think could be a knock for some people who are like purists, because I've seen that. I frequent that found footage horror groups. I'm a little more on and off than on currently with it, but I've seen a few posts on there like, don't put music in found footage films, it ruins them.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, and I agree with you that the opening sequence is really cool, and I really enjoyed it. The music is wonderful, and the editing of like the drive and everything just had this like really comfy like Americana road trip vibe, and I really like that. But it was a nice like setup for like we're watching a found footage horror movie, so like this is kind of starting out with all this like promise and hope, and like these filmmakers are going out there wanting to make something cool, and then knowing that something's going to go wrong later on. So I really liked it. There's no, I don't know about editing, but there's a couple moments later where they have like dual cameras going, which I think that was used effectively too. Yeah. That didn't bother me, and it wasn't really like it was an editing like any kind of standard editing. It's just multiple perspectives being shown simultaneously, but there's obviously no other like and I guess maybe the trippy scene is edited as well, now that I'm thinking about it. And there is some music with that too, but yeah, again, I thought it was effective and it didn't bother me.
Yeah, so I was gonna bring up the fact that like when it comes to editing, I think where it's used the most effectively here is in the psychedelic drug-induced scene, because it's cleverly put together in a way that stays true to that it's found footage or mockumentary, but it also conveys this trippy sense of like being on mushrooms.
Right.
So I thought that was cool because it's a very hard thing to do when you're using the style of found footage, because you're not allowed to take as much artistic liberty, right? Like the camera is just showing you what happened, right? And that's one of the tough things about found footage is with like traditional narrative filmmaking. You have the ability to do whatever the hell you want with your image. You can distort it in any way you want. You can tell the story in any way you want, right? And with found footage, you are very much limited to what the camera is capturing in reality.
Yeah.
And from like a stationary position or like a handheld position, and that's really it. Right, you could have drone shots technically, right?
Sure.
And you can have like head cams, so you can get creative and change it up. But like with traditional filmmaking, right, like the camera can move in a very robotic way. It can like go through walls, through windows. It can travel through time and space, and so you just don't have that advantage. With found footage film. So I thought that this was clever because another film that this kind of reminds me of in that way, where they used something that usually wouldn't work, but they pulled it off with the trippy visuals, because they're just, for some reason, even though they're like, we only turn on the generator for special occasions, and they seem to turn it on like a lot to like throw little raves. But in this, yeah, there's like a lot of neon lighting and the way people are filming and the way they edit over, right? They're like overlaying imagery on top of each other, which gives it that like blurry drug effect, which is a really cool idea, and it makes the scene feel makes you feel what they're feeling, which was neat. And as I said, the thing it reminds me of is like in the Monster Project when they have a dream sequence in a found footage movie.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, what? But somehow it like works for the film. So if you can get clever with your editing, with your techniques and everything, that's great. And I've never seen like a drug scene in a found footage film make sense in the rules of found footage, and you know, stick to those rules and still work that way.
Yeah.
So very cool on that part, and I just wanted to give that some credit. This movie starts on Friday the 13th, so they're off to a bad start.
Yeah.
That doesn't raise any red flags for them. They also see the fire warning up on the thing is like extreme. This is like warnings right and left. Yeah. Right? It's like danger, danger. Like it keeps telling them, trying to alert them. There's danger around every corner. Now, I am a completely open guy, and I couldn't care less. I just found it to be noteworthy and interesting because I just haven't seen it in a way that it's used here. But when their friend, who they haven't seen in a while, shows up, there's like 3 or 4 friends there. They're all guys. And when they greet each other, they all kiss each other on the lips. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was like, it was interesting. It was really sweet though, because it like reminds me, like that's what I meant about like with the chemistry. Like it feels like a real group of friends. Like that's just a thing that they do for, you know, with each other, and they're so comfortable with each other, which is lovely to see, of course. Like whatever their sexualities are, it doesn't matter. No. But a lot of like, I know a lot of straight guys would be like, I'm not gonna kiss you on the lips, and they just seem to have no cares about it, which was cute. Yeah. And it just sold, you know, their friendship even more. You know, which is great because it's like, well, like, you know, they get this postcard and it's like, an estranged friend saying like, come out to the desert to this like cult hippie commune. And in most circumstances, like a lot of people would be like, I'm not going to come out into the middle of nowhere to go see your cult. But because they're such good friends, clearly, you know, even if it's been a little while since they've seen each other, like it just makes sense that they would go out there to be with him and to like pursue the opportunity and everything.
They also feel like friends that would have that kind of non-traditional greeting. Sure. Right? Like they just come off to me as those kinds of guys. So they sold that to me, which was cool. But I will say, and this isn't a knock for sure, but that the friend that they come out to see, once they get to the compound, commune, whatever, I don't know. I never feel like he's all that buddy with them, and I felt like similar. He's hanging out with them in their yurts and like constantly around them and like really like just friends with them. He just kind of seems to be off doing his own thing and very like self-absorbed. Yeah, and I don't know that's not a problem because that's just I guess how he is. But I just remember being like, damn, like everyone else is so friendly, like with each other in that little group. But he is the one who kind of like broke away and did his own thing, and
right. Well, yeah, I got that same sense too. That it was like they seemed really friendly at first, and then he kind of got more distant. But there's like a lot of
he's around his new people.
He's around his new people, and there's stuff going on with their group that he's like. Concerned about, and like for probably like half of this movie, I thought they were
Yeah.
were cannibals. Like,
Yeah.
or the, obviously, like, the go-to trope is, like, he invited them there to, like, kill them as part of some ritual sacrifice, like, for this, cult that he's joining.
So glad it didn't go that way.
It didn't go that way,
Yeah.
but so, like, that's, whenever I was, like, noticing his behavior, I mean, like, he doesn't seem as, like, close as maybe I would have expected. That's what my brain was filling in, was like, well, they're just gonna eat them, because I feel like there's a bunch of references to, like eat, like, just like I don't know, the eating, like, different comments about eating flesh like humans. So I was like, this is
we'd kill you way before we sued you.
Yeah, stuff like that.
It's all by design.
It is,
right?
which is cool.
It's all like it's all attached to this this knowledge by the filmmaker that everybody who's watching the movie thinks it's going to go the traditional classic cult route.
Yeah.
Right? So I like that they play that up for half the movie, because you're just sitting there like, I know where this is going. I'm still into it.
Yeah.
But like, it's going to turn into Midsommar. This is going to turn into The Sacrament. This is going to turn into, I can go down the list of tons of freaking movies like this with cults, and they go to the cult place, and then of course the cult turns on them and everyone starts killing each other. This is like the trope of tropes. This is like every cult movie pretty much.
Well, the behavior of all the cult members too, like, there's some that are like, and like, they didn't want you to come here, so they're kind of standoffish. And then the actor who played the cult leader, I think, did a really great job of being like that charismatic, but like kind of arrogant and self-entitled at times. Like, he was definitely an asshole sometimes, and I was like, I don't like him. But then I could also see this, like, he was having that, like, leadership quality that people were, like, looking up to him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all of that just kind of falls in line with what you would expect a cult movie to be like. And then when things, like, changed, it was just like, what the, like, I did not expect that at all.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's what I really enjoyed about this, is that it does go off in a different direction, and none of them are bad people. Like, none of them are killers. None of them invited them out there for bad. Now, they invited them out there under false pretenses.
Yeah.
But they didn't think they were in danger, right? So it's not like, I guess I shouldn't spoil that movie. I was going to liken it to something too recent that we watched.
I don't know that it wasn't that they didn't think they were in danger, but I think that they, like, wanted, I mean, they did genuinely want help, like, because there was concern, like, so everybody who's dreaming, all the dreamers, like, when they talk about the dream in the end, they're like, and then at the end of the dream, like, we're not there anymore. Like, we don't exist. Yeah. Or we're gone, or whatever it is that they say. Yeah. But that's, like, a cause for concern, because that's, like, is that death? What is that? Like, that would be, and I think they are concerned about it.
Anybody who didn't dream didn't die.
Sure, yeah, all those people are still there. And I don't even know if they died. I don't know what happened.
So the people who were getting sick and bleeding out of their ears and vomiting and everything, were those all the people that were having the dreams only? Yes. And all the people who weren't were fine? Right. So they should have sent them out for help? They did send the blonde girl and some other people, and they never came back.
I don't think so. Unless I'm misremembering.
I don't think they ever came back. Yeah. Because the brunette and her dude, they came back. They were all screwed up. Yeah. And then. But
I think that if the group of people who left that were dreamers got far enough out, they would have just, like, collapsed. Died. Yeah. I
agree.
So, but I don't remember them coming back unless I'm misremembering this. We just watched it last night, of course, but. And we took notes.
Think there's so many characters.
There is a lot of characters, like, and I didn't know anybody's name, and I'm already horrible with names, so I just kind of was like, oh, that person. Like, there's like 2 brunettes or 3 maybe.
They look similar.
Oh my god, I was like, is that girl? Yeah. Like, the whole time I kept getting so confused over who was what. But at the end though, the only people that disappear and the only people that were sick before they disappeared are the dreamers. Yeah.
So they were the only ones ever really in danger. Now, they don't really know that, obviously, but
Yeah.
I don't think they thought the people who were going to come out were going to die.
No,
I just think that they
I don't
thought
think
that,
that.
like, they wanted help, like, as you said. No, I don't exactly know what their plan was. We're just going to film it. And I guess just to document it. Like, this is what happened to us.
Yeah.
Tell the world. Right? If anything goes south, we have it on tape. So I guess that's a good enough explanation. I don't know if, like... Now, if they never came there, if they never got in the vicinity of this thing, would they have eventually, like, succumbed to the dreams? And would it have killed them from afar? Or did they have to come within its vicinity? I'm assuming they had to come within its vicinity. And the longer they were there, the more that it could, like, affect them. And then ultimately, like... take them, well, I should say lure them, I guess. Right? Because, like, the one girl goes missing. And then there's, like, a flash in the cave.
Yeah.
And there's, like, a T-Rex skull in there. I don't know if this means, like, this thing's been around since the dinosaurs. And, like, it did this to the dinosaurs in that area, too. And this is just the remains. Or if this is like, looks like a T-Rex head, but it's actually like the head of the entity. It's like, it's a T-Rex head. They even call it a T-Rex head in the freaking movie. So like, to me, I guess there's, I don't know. Because the only thing we ever see with the T-Rex head is the tooth is glowing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like the entity took that thing over. That's probably what happened, right? I think I maybe got something here. Like, it shape-shifted. Right, because it's a shapeshifter. Yeah. It shape-shifts into the dinosaurs because it was around during the dinosaurs. Yeah. It eventually, like, has nobody else coming to its territory, so it can't, like, shape-shift into the next one. Then it, like, lives on through... like the very small remnants of it, right? It's like it shapeshifted into that thing, and then it kind of like dies. Its body kind of dies, but it like has a lingering element that like is in its tooth, right? It's like the only piece of its like DNA that's still surviving, and it's sending out this signal trying to lure people to it because it can't leave that area, right? And once people come, then it's strong enough that it can like lure someone to the cave and take their body over. And then that girl who goes missing, she becomes the new shapeshifter, right? Because when she comes in and knocks on all their little yurts, we can see she doesn't have any nipples and she doesn't have a belly button. Yeah. So this is it like absorbed her or something. Right, and like the thing mimicked her, but it can't mimic her exactly. It comes out like it's rebirthed without, you know, the nipples and the belly button. You know, something that would suggest that it's human and that it was given birth to. Yeah. So I think, and then she's able to then leave the cave because. You know, it is able to leave the caves because now it has a physical body that it's taken over, and then it's able to lure all these guys out, and then they come back there, and it becomes more powerful. Now, will it come after these guys outside? Why did these guys specifically get contacted by the being? Like, there's definitely a ton of questions that are going to be unanswered. Yeah. So if you want like a definitive answer, as I said, it's just not going to be for you. I like the intrigue. There's enough where I'm like, ooh, what if? And I just came up with a bunch of crap off the top of my head, and I like that. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That was kind of like how I was understanding like what happened.
Everything I just said, you came up with all that, so I'm like behind the times.
No, I'm just saying that's like how I was understanding it. I mean, like like I said earlier, I was like, I don't know what happens in the end because I don't have like a definitive answer. Like you said, I feel like it's a pretty ambiguous ending, which I do like it in this case. I think that it works really well because we get enough information, we can fill things in. But why these people specifically are getting the dream, I don't know, but I do really like the concept of like strangers who are having the same dream and like find each other on message boards and like at like festivals and stuff and end up like connecting through that. I think that's really cool. But obviously there's people in this group that haven't had the dream, so it's not only dreamers that are members of this little society that they have. But yeah, I don't know. I think what you said is like the best, like the best explanation that I have, and that we can have like from like a one-time watch. Maybe if we rewatched it and noticed other things, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's other hints here, maybe, right? I'd have to look into like the history behind Ragnarok and stuff like that. Like, I know of Ragnarok.
And they also talk about spiders. That was something else too. There was like some comment about like a spider coming into somebody's like yurt, and the guy was like ushering it out and was like, all spiders are evil spirits in like every culture. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but yeah, Ragnarok would be one thing, because obviously that's and then triangles too, of course. Sure. There's the symbolism of the triangle.
Well, I just know the triangle musical instruments has that kind of ringing sound to it when you hit it, right? So it's like it's got the right shape for like the sound to permeate. And then you got the wind chimes, right? Tons and tons of wind chimes, almost like you're sending a freaking sound back at it.
I do also think it's kind of like, like symbolically, like all these people like leave society because they don't want to be like, forced into being like carbon copies and like, whatever, a product of the machine. And then in the end, they all kind of get assimilated, is what like we're assuming happens. Like they all get assimilated. So it's like it sucks, because it's like even though they're trying to escape that, they still like run right into it, another version of it in some way.
Right. They don't want to be like anyone else, so they let their bodies get taken over by somebody else. Yeah. But yeah, as far as Ragnarok goes, I'd have to look it up. The only reason I even know what Ragnarok is as a word is because of the Gwar album. Oh. First. Okay. Then Thor. Yeah. The second Thor, or the third Thor movie, sorry. And I think God of War. Yeah, God of War did a video game, Ragnarok, too. So
it's like a Norse word for the end of the world, basically.
Right, exactly. So I would have to look up like the details, like specific details. Like I know what the broad strokes are of it because of these things, but I'd like to see if there's anything in that mythology that sounds like, something like this, like some sounds or shapeshifters or something where I'm like, oh, maybe it's in reference to this. Yeah.
I mean, there is shapeshifters, of course, in like Norse mythology. I thought Loki was a shapeshifter, but
he is.
I don't know.
I mean, in the Marvel movies, he is.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure that's because he is actually a shapeshifter.
Right.
The god Loki.
The god of mischief.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else am I going to talk about here? And yeah, I think the last thing here for me is like, Kaylee and I have talked about this many times. Like, I totally get the appeal of this kind of living. I get this appeal, this idea of breaking away from this more forced society that you weren't involved in the creation of, right? Like there's so many things that I just genuinely oppose in my ideology that I have to deal with in society. Like I genuinely hate so many aspects, but there's like nothing you can do about it for the most part. Like you're just part of this system, and it's very hard to break away from it. It's near impossible, and that's by design. Of course, they don't want you to break away from it. Yeah. Otherwise, a lot of people would. And of course, like this idea of like a group of people getting together and branching off and creating this better society. I wouldn't call it a utopian society, but trying to get closer to that ideal. Like, I get it. And it's a very like enticing idea. Unfortunately, I'm sure could it work? Sure. Has it worked in the past? Maybe, right? Like, you don't hear about the ones that work. You hear about Jonestown. You hear about Waco. You hear about these obvious ones, right? The one in freaking Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey. Like, you hear about these ones, and they always turn into like sex death cults. Yeah. Right? It's either people are getting raped or people are getting murdered or both. Yeah. Right? Like, that's what happens because, unfortunately, it's run by humans, and humans are corruptible and, greedy and self-absorbed, and, there's always a power vacuum that people are trying to fill and use other people. And it's a shame. It always has to mess it up for the people who are there for genuinely good intentions. Who really want to just make a great life for everybody. But I would be about it, but of course I just have to sit back and be like, it's going to turn into a sex death cult. Pretty much. But do you think, had this Tyrannosaurus Rex shape-shifting demon not freaking stuck its nose or its tooth in their business, do you think this one would have worked?
I don't know.
They seemed pretty happy.
They did.
No, didn't seem to be any like
weird hierarchies or anything. Yeah, I mean, none of that seemed to be present. It wasn't like, but I don't know, because I feel like a lot of these cults start out with like the best intentions, and then the more people that join it, like, that's when problems happen, as you said, because people are human. I mean, I guess as it was, like, right before everything, I think they probably would have been fine. I think they were small enough and, like, close enough of a community that, like, they probably could have been all right, but instead...
For a while.
Yeah.
Right. Until the corruption sets in, like it always does. So, yeah. Overall, very cool.
Super cool.
It's got some really, really cool ideas, and for as big as it is, it obviously has a pretty modest budget. So kudos to everyone who was involved in making it. Definitely very effective and a unique spin on a, not a tired subgenre, because I don't feel like there's enough cult movies, but a tired trope within the subgenre, because it unfortunately always becomes this 99% of the time, and this time, for once, they took it in a different direction, and thank you for that.
Yes.
So, very cool. I had never even heard of this film before Dave mentioned it. So, you never know, man. You always think, like, you've seen it all, and, like, if there's any cool ones out there left, you would have saw it already or heard of it or something. Not necessarily.
No,
I mean, how many movies do we watch? How many movies have I seen?
Sure.
Dude, film is limitless. This is why I laugh when anybody tells me, like, there's nothing to watch.
I know.
And they've seen, like, 0.2% of what I've seen. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, what? No. There's so much to watch. So much great stuff out there. So many hidden gems. So many not hidden gems that are just gems. So that's that. Anyways, let us know if you saw it, if you've watched it, if you stopped and then came back after you watched it. And what's that? All right, guys.